Good day, viewers, and welcome to our first OnSide SA soccer show of the season. Paul is unfortunately unavailable because he has flew from his UK trip. So joining us, as always, from his UK home in Fulham is our regular correspondent, Stevie Braham. As always, we kick off with our post-net last one standing, and our first competition of the season was won by Ashley Rushton, with our runner-up being Sean Matthew. Got to week 18, which was unbelievable. While our ladies' winner was Cindy Riddell, who won R2,500 as our leading lady, but because she stays in the UK and America, either or, we will convert it into pounds or dollars as she will require. Our second competition, heading into week 6, we had 5 entries. 2 were successful. Tennille Verners went through on Chelsea. Murray Dan sailed through when Liverpool beat Burnley. While our 3 unfortunate guys were Andre van Bussen and our own Paul Lafferty, who went out when Newcastle were thumped 4-1 at home by Notts Forest, and Jared Verners, who was on Brentford, who never turned up when losing at home to Wolves. Heading into week 7, both Tennille and Murray were on Aston Villa, and they were lucky to go through as they beat Burnley 3-2. Our third competition of the season starts next week, the 13th, which is week 21. Now, there are 5 games and on the 13th, 14th and 15th, and 5 the following weekend on the 20th, 21st and 22nd, and Stevie B will explain how it's going to work. I contemplated whether to start the following round, but that was a midweek round, and starting in the first week of February, a lot of people wouldn't be happy with that. So guys, you will all be notified. We do start next weekend. We go across now to our UK man, Stevie B. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Budge.
Steve, just mentioning, obviously you heard the split. Why the split week?
Well, the Premier League had decided that, from the pressure from some of the clubs, that they wanted a very short winter break. Obviously, in other parts of Europe, they get a longer one.
Yeah.
And there was a winter break, obviously, because of the World Cup, and they thought that would be a good idea. Now, the only problem was the TV companies were not happy about it. Okay. So the compromise was that every Premier League team would get 1 weekend off in January between the 3rd and 4th round of the FA Cup. So that, as you said, there are 5 games next weekend, which are all being televised, and then the following weekend, those 10 teams don't play, but the other 10 teams play, and again, every one of those matches is televised. So for the armchair viewer, they're going to get a lot of Premier League TV, and the fans will get 1 weekend off.
Okay, well, that seems fair enough. I asked you before we went on air, why don't they just have 1 week off for all the clubs? But obviously, TV money is crucial, and all the clubs would obviously want to share of the pie. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for some teams it works quite well, but for others, including Fulham and Chelsea, who have got Carabao Cup commitments, and they end up with a little bit of a sort of fixture congestion with just that one Saturday off in a couple of weeks' time. Okay,
well, I suppose can't win them all, and with money being the crucial part of the Premiership, you can't blame them for going 5-5. Anyway, Steve, FA Cup weekend, and I always get worried about this round, Steve. You just never know who's going to play their strongest team. I know there's Asian Cup and AFCON starting shortly, so a lot of the players have left the clubs. This could be upset weekend, but we'll kick off. We'll get the betting up now. And there is a game tonight, Steve. I haven't got the betting up, but Crystal Palace, Everton. Who do you fancy?
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace will probably be favourites for that. They don't play next weekend, so they basically got 2 weeks before they play again. Okay. And I think at home, I think Royal play a strong team. Sean Dyche gave the impression, when I saw him being interviewed, that they're a little bit concerned with some of the recent results. Obviously, they've lost 3 league games in a row. Yeah. I wouldn't be at all surprised if, and they play next weekend, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he rests 1 or 2, and I think Palace should start as favourites.
Yeah, okay. I saw Michael Elise pull the hamstring, so he won't play, which is a pity, because the way he's playing, he's due for a big move. Anyway, on to Friday. The first game we've got on our schedule is Brentford Wolves. Steve, how do you see it going?
I Well, I mean, look, they played last week.
Yeah.
Wolves won convincingly, and I have a feeling that with Brentford's injury issues and with players going off on AFCON, I think that Thomas Frank will not play anywhere near his strongest side. They've obviously on a very bad run and only a few points off the relegation zone. I think Wolves have got no reason not to play a strong side. They don't play for a couple of weeks, and I think they'll be buoyed by that. And I think Wolves fans will probably fancy a cup run. So I think that, for me, I think Wolves should start as favourites.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're my best each way bet of the weekend. They're 9-10. It was actually 2-1 this morning. I know they have lost 4 players. That's the only concern. But I agree, Steve. I watched that game because Jared Verner's had them in the competition, and Brentford were nowhere. They gave them 2 goals away. And Thomas Frank, I think last year as well, they played West Ham, I think was in the cup. And he rested all his main players. So, I'm going to be having a dip. Obviously, you've just got to wait for the teams to be announced. But 19-10 Wolves, I think, is a great price. Steve, Fulham, we mentioned prior that you are going to rotate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, we played Liverpool away on Wednesday, so there's absolutely no question that he will rest some key players. Yeah. Rotherham, you see, again, you've got a team like Rotherham who are rock bottom of the Championship. Whether or not they decide that staying in the league is more important and rotate. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether they will, but we certainly will. And we'll see a few squad players. Obviously, we've now lost 3 players to AFCON, a couple of key players as well. So I think, it sounds like the ticket sales have gone very slowly. I think people realise it's going to be a rotated team.
Yeah, I took 9.5-10 both teams to score. I think there'll be plenty of goals here, Steve. I think you'll go through, but I think Rotherham, if you're the manager of Rotherham, they've had a little bit of a decent run of late. I think they're unbeaten in 3. Not that it's saying much, but there is a new manager there from what I'm led to believe. So I think they'll come. If I'm the manager, let's have a go, guys. We know Fulham are going to rotate their main players or start them on the bench. So I think there'll be goals in that 9.5-10. I think it's a good thing. Tottenham, Burnley, Steve, another game where there has to be goals. Could this be the upset of the round?
Well, I think Tottenham fans were very disappointed with last season when they rested players in the latter stage of the competition, and I think they should be demanding a cup run really, and they've got every opportunity to do it. Whether Burnley again, have got their eye on staying up, so I wouldn't be at all surprised. And they play next weekend in a crucial game against Luton. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Vincent Kompany rotates a bit, but Tottenham, they haven't got a huge squad that they can sort of rest all their key players. They've obviously lost a few players themselves, with sort of off to the AFCON and to the Asian Cup with Son out. So I just fancy Tottenham to get through it.
Yeah, I've gone the goal way away. I think there's over 3.5 goals here. You say it does depend on Burnley, but if you're a struggling team like Burnley, Steve, why not have a full go and play your better players? Because if you can knock out Tottenham, Arsenal have got Liverpool and there's a few other games, you can have a decent run in the cup. So if I'm Vincent Kompany, especially as the game's next weekend, I would have a full go, but over 3.5 goals, I saw 16-10, but both teams to score was 7.5-10. To me, that looks an absolute gift. Millwall, Leicester, Steve. I remember Leicester in the League Cup. They went to Anfield. I thought they'd play their best team, but they never. Do you see them rotating big time here?
Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they did rotate because they've obviously got their eye on the big prize, which is automatic promotion. Yes. And I think Millwall will have they've picked up a bit, Millwall. Yes. I think 3 wins in a row now. I've got a feeling Millwall put out a strong side. There should be a decent crowd. I think it'll be a good game. I think tough one to call, but I think if Leicester rotates, and Leicester have lost, basically they've lost their forward line to the AFCON. Yes. So it's going to be quite interesting what sort of team they put out. I fancy Millwall to maybe cause a little bit of a mini upset.
Okay, well, I think, you say early kick-off, you just never know. Millwall have always been a decent cup team. Remember, it was last year, the year before, they had some great results. So you never know if there can be an upset there. Now, the next game should be a humdinger, Steve. I watched Sunderland beat my beloved Preston. And Preston should have gone to their Sunderland keeper made a great save before Pritchard, I think, scored a screamer. Newcastle, they've lost their last, I think it's 4 away from home. Could this be an upset?
Potentially, it really really depends if Eddie Howe sort of rests anybody. And I think, they haven't played each other for about 7 years, I understand, and there's no love lost between Wearside and Tyneside for sure. And there'll be a huge crowd, 40,000 plus, roaring on Sunderland. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. It might be that Eddie Howe is under pressure to play his strongest available side because of the fact it is such a big derby. But they play next weekend against Man City, and I just wonder whether or not he will rest a few. Sunderland, you would hope, play their strongest available team, and I think it could be a very close game. I think Sunderland could hold them. It might well go through a replay.
Yeah, I like that centre forward, the young guy up front. He played well against Preston. Is it Clark? The young guy, Steve, he doesn't look too bad, the youngster. Yeah, just looking here, Steve, Newcastle haven't won in their last 7 away league games, taking 2 points. So if they get knocked out by Sunderland, I think he's going to come under a bit of pressure. On to our second page, and we have Middlesbrough, Aston Villa. Another big game, Steve.
It is, but I just got a feeling that Middlesbrough will rotate themselves because they play Chelsea in the Carabao Cup semi-final on Tuesday. They're not in the best of form, and I just wonder whether or not they will. Villa, he seems to like playing in the cups, and I've got a feeling that he'll rotate a bit, but I think whatever team Villa put out should be too strong. Yeah,
I fancy Villa. I saw the highlights of the Middlesbrough-Coventry game, and I listened to Mark Robbins, the Coventry manager, and he was just saying how lucky they were, how many injuries Middlesbrough have got. And with Middlesbrough playing against Chelsea in the League Cup in midweek, he was just saying that he's struggling for players. So Aston Villa, to me, should be absolute certainties, and Aston Villa to win by more than 1 goal at 15-10. That's going to have my money. Luton Town, Bolton. Steve, I know it's a tight pitch. Can Bolton cause the upset?
Yeah, I mean, Bolton are second in the first division, and obviously looking on a child for promotion. Now, whether or not they'll rotate anybody, we just don't know. Luton don't have a huge squad, but he might be tempted, Rob Edwards, to give a few of the more fringe players a game, just because they've got, their games are coming fast and, the position they're in. So, but I still think Luton should be a little bit too strong, but I think it'd be a close game. Yeah,
I think the smaller ground will suit Bolton. And I've been to the Reebok Stadium. It's really nice stadium. But, these tight grounds, when Luton get the bigger teams, it doesn't suit them. Yet when they play the lesser teams, you never know. It could be a tight game, but I don't see Luton getting beat. I don't know what to make of West Ham, Steve. I watched them against Brighton. I thought they'd have a go. Brighton were all over them. It was a real negative David Moyes performance. I'm sure the fans weren't too happy. I fell asleep. It was that bad. But surely they've got to get the better of Bristol City.
Yeah, I don't think so. He'll probably rotate a little bit, but they don't play for 2 weeks, West Ham. Bristol City will bring a lot of fans up. It's an opportunity to come to a big stadium. But I think West Ham should be too strong. But you're right, it was a very lacklustre performance against Brighton. Brighton should have won that game. Yeah. So, but I think West Ham will win. But I think it'll be quite close. But I think they should win.
Yeah. Big game of the round is obviously Arsenal-Liverpool, Steve. The way Arsenal have been playing lately, he's got to play his biggest side. Well, I think Klopp may rotate. Surely that's got to favour Arsenal?
You'd think so. I mean, after the last couple of performances, I think the Arsenal fans are demanding the result. Yeah. And again, Arsenal don't play themselves for a couple of weeks, so there's no reason why he shouldn't play his strongest available side. Be interesting to see if Jurgen Klopp does rotate and sort of gives precedence to the Carabao Cup, although they are at home. Yeah. So I think he's got the squad. He can rotate certain players. Obviously, Salah has gone out, and Endo in the Asian Cup, but Salah obviously be a miss. But they've got enough firepower. Yeah. But I think Arsenal will want to bounce back. They. Well, again, I obviously was at the Fulham game, and I was very surprised by how sort of there was a lack of clinical finishing from Arsenal. Apart from the goal, they only had one other shot on target. Yeah. So they'll have to play a lot better than that. Liverpool got the firepower to score. But, I think you're right. It's the game of the round. It should be interesting. Yeah. Monday night game, Wigan versus Man United. Surely United have got to get through, Steve? Well, you'd think so. And I think, Ten Hag is under fixture as it is, if he rotates too much and they catch a cold at Wigan, it'd be a big crowd, obviously, sort of well, not quite a derby, but pretty close to.
Yeah.
And I think that he's got to play a strong side and get a result. Otherwise, the fans are going to demand nothing less.
Yeah, I've been to that JJB Stadium, Steve, and they play rugby league on it, and that pitch is going to be nice and bumpy, and don't be surprised if it's a leveller. United have got to get through, but the way the club is at the moment, anything is possible. Our third and final sheet of the FA Cup, and we've got Gillingham at home to Sheffield United. How do you see it?
This could be an interesting game. I mean, obviously Gillingham are sort of in the lower divisions, but Sheffield United, again, with the way that their precarious position, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he rests one or two. But again, they don't play for 2 weeks, so you might think it's an opportunity to get, give them a bit of confidence. They had a good cup run last season, and you'd think that they'd want to sort of try and do the same without jeopardising their league position. But I think they should just be too strong. But I think Gillingham at home will give them a good game. Yeah,
if I'm the manager, I'd want to play my best team just to get things right. You surely got to go there and try and win 3 and 4-0. And I think Gillingham, is it Priestfield Road? I don't know why that rings a bell.
Priestfield Stadium.
I did see the highlights during one of the EFL games, and it looked quite a bumpy little pitch. And obviously, I don't know how much money they've got to spend on it, which should be a leveller. But Sheffield United are more of a panel-beating team than a team that plays good football. So if they can't go there and win by a couple of goals, Steve, I think the writing's on the wall in the Premiership. And for the fans, why not have a good run? That's my thing for the fans. You spend a lot of money following your team. Why must they play a Mickey Mouse selection and go out? So I think he'll play a decent side and go through. Wayne Rooney, our man, got fired at Birmingham City. I've got a good mate, Steve Potter. He was up in arms when they fired John Eustace. And they were going well at the time. I think he won one of 11 or one of 12 games?
It's 2 of 15, I believe.
Was it 2 of 15?
Terrible run, and they went from 5th to, I think he's 20th now. So, he was under extreme pressure, although he made a little comment to sort of say he didn't feel that 13 weeks was enough time. But, I guess the fans, and more importantly, the owners, who have obviously prepared to put some money in, and American owners, as we know, they demand success. So it was an experiment that just didn't work out. And I think John Eustace made a little dig this week as well, because, to be sacked when they were in their highest league position for some time, obviously has backfired. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. How do you see them going against Hull City, though?
Well, I think it'd be interesting, obviously whether the players show a bit of a reaction. But Hull are fairly decent at home, and you'd fancy them to be favourites. Yeah,
I've got to agree with that. But sometimes a bounce factor, Steve, playing for a manager who's used to bigger things, now it comes down to earth. I think there'll be a reaction from Birmingham City. QPR Bournemouth, Steve. Bournemouth are my dark horses for the Cup, 66-1. I'm trying to get a bet on them to get to the final. Hopefully I can get half the odds. Surely they've got to beat QPR at Loftus Road?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, they're having a really good run, Bournemouth, and even if he rotates a few, you'd think that it would be too strong for QPR. Look, QPR are having a bit of a relegation battle, whether or not they rotate and the Fury plays their strongest available side. I think it'll be close, but you still fancy Bournemouth to come out on top.
Yeah. Stoke City against Brighton?
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I think that the Verby might rotate a few. He's got quite a few injuries.
Yeah.
But the way they played the other night, you'd think that they would be too strong. But Stoke, I think, will give them a good game. I think it'll be a decent crowd there at the Bet365 Stadium. So I think they'll be close, but you'd expect Brighton just to edge it. Yeah,
it's amazing. Once they fired Alex Neil, Stoke, they've actually improved. They're unbeaten in 6, but you've got to think the Premiership class will carry on. And last but certainly not least, Chelsea against my beloved Preston North End. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, well, again, Chelsea are playing in the Cup on Tuesday, but they've got the squad that they can rotate and still put out, what is a Premier League squad, and I think should be too strong for Preston.
Yeah, I hate to say. No, I
can't
see us,
get a result, and rough Chelsea up a little bit ahead of Wednesday, ahead of next weekend, but I think Chelsea will be too strong.
I just don't see it, Steve. He plays too negative. You've got a couple of nice forwards and he plays 4-5-1 or 5-4-1. The fans are going berserk. But you never know. Maybe Chelsea take their foot off the pedal, but I don't see it. I think we'll get beat 3 or 4-0. That's my suggestion, as much as my heart's with my hometown, Preston. Steve, League Cup on in midweek. We've got Tuesday night, Middlesbrough, Chelsea. Wednesday night, you travel to Anfield.
Yeah, so Tuesday, I can't see anything other than Chelsea win.
Yeah.
You know, Borough will be keen, but they've got injuries. They're on a bad run. Chelsea have a squad I think that they'll just be too strong for Borough. I mean, it's interesting, like watching the Chelsea game at Luton for sort of 75 minutes. Chelsea cruising, and all of a sudden, that last 15 minutes could almost have won it.
Yeah,
the chances they've had.
Great chance. Yeah,
they just really took the foot off the gas and looked very shaky at the back. But I just can't see Middlesbrough, with the form they're in and the interest they've got, really hurting them enough. And as for Wednesday, I can't see anything other than a Liverpool home win. I think the key for us is to keep it tight. So we're still in the tie in 2 weeks' time for the second leg.
Yeah. Well, you just got to hope that they change the goalkeeper and play that young Irishman, because against you the last time you scored 3 and you deserve to get a point. But anyway, Steve, at least you're in the semi-final. Let's hope it's tight, so you got something to watch when you.
I think the key is that we keep it. We don't get beaten heavily, because obviously we're all looking forward to the second leg.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be the first game's normally a little bit tactical as well. I don't think Klopp. He's got a second game, so if he wants to come and attack, but you'd expect him to get at least a goal up. But you never know, Steve. You never know. Midweek, you never know. We live in hope. Steve, thanks as always, and we'll speak to you over the weekend. Sorry, Steve. Sorry. I've forgot your best bet and value bet. Apologies.
That's all right. No, so my best bet, I think I mentioned, I'm going to go down to Spain. I know it's the cup, but Girona joint Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You just think whatever team they play, they should be too strong.
Yeah.
Playing away at a team in the division below. So I fancy Girona as my best bet. And my value bet, actually, I'm going to go for Wolves.
Yeah.
I just think that based on the way they won comfortably last week, and with Brentford's position and with injuries and AFCON players, I just think that Wolves, if he plays a strong team, Gary O'Neill, that they should be too strong.
Yeah, I totally agree, Steve. Totally agree. Well, the games will be on tomorrow night, so let's hope there's plenty of goals, because I've gone for several goals in some of my bets. But Steve, thanks as always, and we'll speak to you over the weekend.
Pleasure.
Take care.
Yeah, cheers. Bye, bud.
So UK regular correspondent Stevie Bram. We go over to the Italian Serie A. In Spain, for some unknown reason, they've got the league in midweek and they've got the cup on the weekend. So some great prices. So if you want to have a dip, and I have a bet that I've already placed. But in Italy, the league continues this week, and our first game is on Friday night. Bologna at home to Genoa. I've backed Bologna at home the last few weeks. They've won their last 6 at home. And even money, I had a look this morning, they were 11-10. That's my bet of the weekend. Genoa, away from home, they've lost 4 of 5. And to me, Bologna all day long. Saturday morning or Saturday lunchtime, our time, Inter Milan 1-5. Best team in Italy by a long way. 9 wins and 3 draws in the last 12. Against the Hellas Verona side, 17th in the league. Really struggling. 1 win out of the last 16. So Inter Milan to win by more than 2 goals was 12-10. So if you did want to have an interest, but in your altar comes 1-5. Inter Milan looks a good thing. Second game is Frosinone AC Monza. Both teams in mid-table. Both teams to score here looks an absolute certainty. It was 9.5-10 yesterday. So that would be the way I'm going. A score draw, 1-1, 2-2, and 24-10 looks the right way to go in a game where there should be a few goals. Lecce, Cagliari, 2 teams that are struggling. Lecce have only won 1-13, and Cagliari have taken 2 points from their last 9 away league games. Of the 2 sides, I've got to take Lecce and the draw, but not a game I will be interested in. Sassuolo versus Fiorentina. Fiorentina are my dark horses to win the Europa Conference League. They were 7-1 when I last looked, but I'm always a bit skeptical backing those teams, especially when they're trying to get into the Champions League places. 12 to 10 looks a decent price to me. Sassuolo at home, always difficult, but they've only won one of their last 6. So Fiorentina, 12 to 10, for me, looks worthy of a bet. On to our second page, Empoli, AC Milan. AC Milan going well, third in the league. Empoli a second bottom. 6 to 10 isn't the worst of prices. My only concern is the early kickoff. But if you're looking at multiples on Sunday, including 6 to 10, AC Milan is definitely the way to go. Torino, Napoli. Torino, hard to beat at home. 3 wins and a draw in their last 4. Napoli, I don't know what's gone on. Victor Osimhen, I think, is reported for Nigeria. He's their main man. This has got draw written all over it, guys. 23 to 10 is my suggestion. Udinese versus Lazio. Lazio, always tough to beat in the European competitions, but in the league, they're up and down. Udinese, another difficult team to beat at home. 1 win and 5 draws in their last 6. So I took 11 to 10. Both teams to score in that Udinese versus Lazio clash. Salernitana versus Juventus. Juventus second top. Salernitana bottom of the league and struggling. 5 to 10 looks an absolute gift. Sunday night, that should be in all your plays. And I'm going for Roma at 14 to 10 against Atalanta. They squeaked through in the cup last night. But at home, Roma have won 6 and drawn 1, and 14 to 10, I think's a great price. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend, and our score 6 on Saturday. I've gone 3 fields and 3 bankers. I've gone the field in the Millwall Leicester City game, the Sunderland Newcastle fixture. I've bankered Bournemouth to beat Queen's Park Rangers, the field in the Stoke Brighton game looking for an upset. Chelsea should beat Preston North End, and I fancy Aston Villa to beat Middlesbrough, 162. On to our second soccer 6. I'm going likewise 3 bankers, 3 fields. I'm going Newcastle to beat Sunderland, taking a chance there. Frosinone, AC Monza the field. Bournemouth should beat Queen's Park Rangers. Southampton should be too good for Walsall. And the field in the Port Vale, Charlton Athletic and Espanyol Getafe games, 162. On to our score 10 for the weekend. I've gone the field in the Millwall Leicester City game. I'm chancing Coventry City to beat Oxford United. I've got Newcastle United to avoid defeat at Sunderland. And I've added the draw in with Sheffield United at Gillingham. I don't see Hull City losing at home to Birmingham City. On to our second page, I'm going for Bournemouth to beat Queen's Park Rangers. Brighton win and draw at Stoke City. Chelsea to beat Preston. Aston Villa to beat Middlesbrough, and the field between Sheffield Wednesday and Cardiff City, 288. On to our soccer 13 for the weekend. I'm bankering Chelsea to beat Preston North End. Blackburn Rovers win and draw at home against Cambridge United. Don't see Brighton losing at Stoke City, and bankering Aston Villa to beat Middlesbrough and Bournemouth to beat Queen's Park Rangers. Hull City win and draw against managerless Birmingham City. The field in the Sheffield Wednesday versus Cardiff City fixture. On to our second page, I've added the draw in with Norwich City at home with Bristol Rovers. Then 2 bankers. Southampton to beat Walsall, Swansea City to beat Morecambe, the field in the Newport County Eastleigh clash, and ending up with 2 bankers. Sheffield United to beat Gillingham and Watford to beat Chesterfield, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, and our first game is over 3.5 goals in the Tottenham-Burnley game. Aston Villa to beat Middlesbrough and over 2.5 total goals. And then over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no in the Chelsea-Preston fixture. So Chelsea to win 3-0 or 4-0, 3,400 to 200. My FA Cup team goal sides are Coventry City, Hull City, Bournemouth, Aston Villa and Arsenal, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,600 to 200. On to our FA Cup, both teams to score sides. I'm going Brentford Wolves, Fulham Rotherham, Tottenham Burnley, Sheffield Wednesday Cardiff City and Shrewsbury Wrexham, 3,600 to 200. Having a dip in Italy this week, and our Serie Quad bet is Bologna to beat Genoa, Roma to beat Atalanta, and both teams to score in the Frosinone AC Monza and Udinese Lazio games, 3,000 to 200. On to Spain, third round. So I've had a dip at the Spanish Cup. Some of the prices are unbelievable. I've gone Valencia to beat Cartagena and Las Palmas to beat Tenerife, and both teams to score in the Lugo, Atletico Madrid and Elche de Roma matches, 3,900 to 200. Now, Collis King, 6 or Nixa. I'm going Aston Villa to beat Middlesbrough, Bournemouth to beat QPR, Chelsea to beat Preston, Bologna to beat Genoa, Inter Milan to beat Hellas Verona, and Las Palmas to beat Tenerife, 3,300 to 200. Thank you for listening, and please remember to stay on side.